This video is about how to write sine and cosine function from a given graphs. This is the pattern for our sine and cosine function. When you see a graph, you can figure out a maximum point and a minimum point. For maximum point, let's label as x1, y1. And a minimum point, let's label as x2, y2. And the midpoint between y1 and y2 will be our midline, D, equals y1 plus y2 over 2. After you figure out this D, you need to draw this midline, because for sine function will start from midline. And amplitude will be the half of the distance between y1 and y2. So I write down y1 minus y2 over 2. Basically, it's the distance from maximum to the midline, or the minimum to the midline. This is A, amplitude. There are three ways to figure out the period. You can from the adjacent to maximum point, then find the horizontal distance. This will be P. Or from to adjacent minimum point, find the horizontal distance. This will be the period. Or you can figure out the period from midline. It will be from on the midline. This will be the period. You can also figure out the period from maximum and minimum. The horizontal distance between maximum and minimum will be period over 2, half period. In other words, you can get the period equals 2, absolute value of x2 minus x1. After you figure out the period, you can plug in this formula to figure out this B. Sine and cosine function, we already figure out A, B, and D. How to figure out C? We know for our pattern, the new origin is negative CD. Therefore, the x-coordinate of a starting point will be negative C. When C equal to 0, the starting point is on y-axis. So you need to draw to figure out the pattern. When C greater than 0, remember inside is a layer. The starting point will be on the left side of y-axis. When C less than 0, the starting point is on the right side of y-axis. Remember, for sine function starts from midline. Cosine function starts from minimum or maximum of new y-axis. Let's go over the pattern: sine, negative sine, cosine, and a negative cosine. If you already know the starting point is here, then this pattern, it will be positive cosine x pattern. If you know the pattern starts from here, then this pattern, it will be negative cosine x pattern. If you know the starting point is from midline, then if they start from here, this pattern, it's a positive sine x pattern. If you know the starting point is here, then this pattern it's a negative sine x pattern. Let's look at this question. A function is defined by f of x equals a sine bx plus c. X is between negative pi to pi, where a, b, c are integers. The following diagram represents the graph of y equals f of x. Find the value for a, b, and c. First of all, we will write down our pattern. Y equals plus or minus a sine and a b x plus c plus d. Since the pattern we are looking for is a sine bx plus c. Therefore, let's label our pattern is a1, b1, c1, and d1. Look at this graph. We have a maximum point and a minimum point. Let's label as x1, y1. Here, x2, y2. For our pattern, we know the d1 equals the midpoint of y1 and y2. So y1 plus y2 over 2. You will get 5 plus negative 1 over 2 equals 2. Then we can find a1. It will be the half of a distance between y1 and y2. So we will get y1 minus y2 over 2 equals 5 minus negative 1 over 2 equals 3. Then third step, we will get a period. The period equals 2 times the horizontal distance between maximum and minimum. Let's do x2 minus x1. So we plug in. X2 will be pi over 4 minus negative pi over 4. Negative will be positive. So we get 2 times absolute value, 2 pi over 4. Reduce, you will get pi over 2. So answer is pi. The fourth step, we can figure out our B1 equals 2 pi over p. Therefore, you will get 2 pi over pi equals 2. We already figured out this A1, B1, and D1. Then let's check back the pattern for this question. This is f of x equals a sine bx plus c. There is no horizontal translation, which means this c1 equal to 0. If c1 equal to 0, which means the graph starts from y-axis. Therefore, from y-axis, we will draw this pattern. We know this pattern is y equals negative sine x pattern, which means the function will be negative a1. So we can write down the function now. That is f of x equals negative 3 sine 2x plus 2. Then we can compare this function to this pattern so that we can figure out A equals -3, B equals 2, C equals 2. This will be the final answer to this question.